Hello everyone, my name is Amber. I'm the marketing coordinator here at eco+amour. Today we will be taking you through some of our favorite tips and tricks to achieve beautifully wrapped, eco-friendly gifts for this holiday season. As you can see, there are quite a few things here in front of me. That includes some of the gifts that we have wrapped using our eco-friendly methods, and as well as some products that we use to achieve those wonderful gift wrappings. We have some fabric wraps. This is always a great option for wrapping anything from a box to something that might be a little bit obscure in shape. We also have some repurposed fabrics. Old t-shirts or pillowcases you may be wanting to donate can always be used to wrap a gift in style. We have some paper selections as well. That includes repurposed packaging paper from something you may have delivered to your home, as well as newspapers, which we always seem to have lying around. And then we have some foraged nature finds. These are great ways to add an extra touch of beauty to your gifts. Things ranging from eucalyptus leaves to a pine cone for an eco-friendly style bow, or some birch bark which you can make eco-friendly gift tags out of. We also have a few office items. These ones are what we typically use to secure our gifts. That includes some rubber bands, or you can use old hair ties that you may have. Some twine. This is always great for beauty, but also to secure those gifts. And then we have stapler and a hole puncher. We'll show you some neat tricks as to how we use these to achieve some nicely wrapped gifts. And then of course, like always, just some scissors to do any extra trimmings and finalize those wrappings. So we'll take you through that in just a moment.
Here is just a closer look at some of the sustainably wrapped gifts as well as the materials that we have used. In the next clip, you will see a demonstration of a tape-free wrapping using paper and fabric. For this wrapping method, you will just need to make sure that the paper is big enough to cover the item you would like to wrap, and using your fabric wrap, once rolled up, secure the paper edges and tie that tightly, and then you are all set. Now we will move on to the rest of our wrapping segment.
To start off, I will show you how to wrap a few of our odd-shaped items using a couple different methods and products. The first one that we have here today is a wine bottle. So this does work for all types of bottles and cylinder-shaped items. And then we just have a cellulose sponge cloth. Now this is a wonderful way to gift a bottle in style, but it's also purposeful. So you can just wrap that nicely around your bottle. And then just with some twine or ribbon, really anything that you have that you'd like to tie that off with, you can just double it up so you have a nice thick piece, and that will add to the style. And give it a good wrap around and just finish that off with a nice bow. And it's a very simple, yet wonderful looking way to gift a bottle, and it's also great because you know that the pieces can be reused, or it'll eventually make its way into the compost instead of finding its way into a garbage. Other than a wine bottle, you might find yourself with something a bit weird shaped like a thermos, mugs, bowls, cups, anything of that sort. So for this, I will show you how we do a wrapping with some paper. Here we just have some of our basic brown packaging paper. Once you're all set with your piece cut out, place your item right in the middle. And this one, we're going to utilize some eco-friendly stickers. So taking your sticker, we're just going to wrap the paper around the body, creating a long cylinder. And then just secure that in place with your sticker. All right. And now for our end pieces, you may have some extra length. It's all right if you just trim those off, because all of the things that we don't use for wrapping the gifts, we can use to stuff gifts as well, especially for the paper scraps. It's a great space filler. So the amount of extra paper I'm cutting off is about half the length of the item I'm wrapping. I based it off that just to make sure I have enough to fully cover the bottom and the top of the gift. So once it's all cut like this, I have a much smaller piece to work with. Just grab your gift right in the middle, and at the top and the bottom, not all the way to where the present is. You can see the present starts just about here. So I'm just gonna cut some vertical slits all the way around. And once that's all done, you're just gonna do the same to the other side of the gift. Once that's all done, you're gonna start folding down the end pieces. Because you cut these slits, it's gonna let the paper collapse in on itself. So you can really tuck away all of the little ends. And once that's done, you can take another one of your eco-friendly stickers, using that to secure the bottom. And we'll repeat the same process on the top. And then you have a perfectly wrapped cylinder. And to add to it, you can always garnish it off with a cute bow made from some twine, or you can incorporate one of your fabric wraps just to add to your gift and to the style. And it is all set. Now, with the fabric wraps as well, it's great for wrapping some weirder shaped items like this body brush, for example. Frying pans or pots all work really well if you wrap them with a fabric. All right, so here I have one of our fabric wraps. This one is a little bit smaller since I am going to do a 2-piece wrap for this item. I'll lay it out diagonally and fold up these corners to start covering the gift, and then do the same on the other side. And once that's done, you shouldn't see the gift at all. You can just finish rolling it into that fabric wrap. And then take a piece of twine to secure that in place. Now simply you can leave it like this, and it does almost give you this flower bouquet kind of effect, especially if you were to add it with a couple other gifts that might be the same shape or size. But you can also create a carry-in bag for a fabric wrap or carry-in strap using another fabric wrap as well. So once your item is just placed in the middle of your fabric wrap, bring the 2 opposing corners together, and as close to the edges as possible, tie that in 2 knots. And then we'll do the same on the other side. Grab the 2 opposing corners and just tie those into 2 knots. Once that's all done, you'll have these 2 separate sections. And then you can finally attach those sections together with one last knot right at the top. And then you are left with a handle, a perfect way to carry the gift. If you don't go with that second knot, you can just leave it as is. Next up, we have our fabric wraps, and we're gonna take you through some steps to achieve really tightly wrapped gifts, as well as making them into bags or carriers for your presents, and incorporating bows with the end pieces that you do have once you are finished wrapping up those presents. We have a couple different boxes and some oddly shaped items to show you the different ways you can use fabric wraps. So starting off with one of my favorites, I'll just lay that flat on the workspace and place my box right in the center of it. To make sure it is big enough to cover the box that I intend on wrapping, I'm just gonna fold the edges over. If the edges do cover it and it's nice and loose like this, you know you do have enough wrap to cover that present. And if there's some extra length, then you'll have enough to do a wonderful bow at the end. I'm just gonna line up my box with the flat edge of the box opposite to the flat edge of the scarf or fabric wrap that I will be using to wrap it. And starting with the longer side of the box, since this is a rectangle, I'll grab the opposing corners on that fabric wrap and just tie them centered on the box. And I'll keep these ends from the knot I just tied in my hand to keep them secure, because you'll have to grab the other opposing corners and repeat that same process. And once you have that set, give it a nice hug, make sure it's tight as well. Gather the 2 ends from the one knot and the 2 ends from the other. just like so. I have them separated here. And next, you'll notice one side is longer since it was a rectangle. We're gonna wrap those around the shorter ones and tie that into another knot. There are many ways you can decorate the top of the box using the extra fabric. One of my favorites is simply take these corners and roll them up just like this. Keep rolling it until it's nice and small, and you can tuck that right in underneath where it was originally tied. And once it's tucked in, it'll disappear, and you can do the same with the other side. And it's a great finishing for a present like this. And with something like this, you can also add a nice nature finish, whether that's a cute twig, which you can secure your gift tag to. It can slide right through the middle of the present, or you could go with something a little bit bigger, like one of these eucalyptus leaves. And once again, just slide that right through the present in the middle. Since it's all tied off already, you don't have to worry about anything moving. And once that's in, it's a wonderful touch to that gift, and it really adds a nature feel to it. Next up for fabric wraps, I'll be showing you how to achieve a flower style bow using the ends of the fabric once you've got that gift wrapped. So this works for many different sizes of presents, all types of boxes especially, but also for anything smaller where you can have a little bit of fabric left over at the end to make a design with. We'll start off the same as last time with our fabric laid flat on the workspace, and the box just placed with the flat edge opposite to the flat edge on the fabric wrap. And we'll grab the two opposing corners and gather that fabric above the center of the box. And this time we'll do the same on the other side and gather all four corners together over the center of the box. Next step, using a rubber band or using some twine, ribbon, old hair ties, you'll just secure these four lengths of fabric as tightly as you can to give you as much material to make the flower with as possible. And you just don't want to put that band on too tight or tie it off too tightly, because you will still need to tuck some fabric into it afterwards. Once that's all done, just pull on the ends of the fabric to make sure it is nice and tight over the box, and then we can go on to making the flower. So with these fabric ends that we have, we're going to take the first one and just tuck it back underneath this rubber band that we secured, and you'll pull out quite a good length of it, and then you'll be left with a little poof right here next to the center of the box, and that will be your flower's petal. And then we have the leaves underneath. With the other side and the other ends of the fabric, we're just going to repeat this process all the way around to complete the flower. And if you widen the leaves at the base like so, it really emphasizes the flower effect in the middle. It's very simple, yet it looks super beautiful, and it's a wonderful way to surprise friends and family with your wonderful wrapping skills. Okay, so for this next one, I will be showing you how to wrap using a pillowcase. We will start off just by opening up our pillowcase as wide as it can go and scrunching all that material so we can see right to the bottom where we will place our gift in. Next step, you take your gift and just put that right into the spot on the bottom of the pillowcase. I'll show you this time using twine instead of a rubber band how we can achieve a nice bow at the top once we're finished with this present. So get a good length of twine, some extra if you want to wrap it a couple times or add some nice design with it. And then we'll just lift up the pillowcase, gather all of this material here, nice and tight. And with the pillowcase, you'll notice we have these corners from the other side that can add a really nice shape to your gift. So I always like to pull it tight and then leave them sticking out, just like this. Now, once I have it all tight at the very top in the center of the box, I'll take my twine And I'll tie 2 knots so it's nice and tight and I don't have to worry about it moving on me. And then I'll leave these pieces over here for now. To do the design on the top, you want to gather the edges of the pillowcase that line up with these bottom corners and make it nice and flat in the middle. And next we're going to take these corners and just fold it down so we have a little bit less length to work with. You can fold it down 2 times and then you'll be left with just the same shape but just a bit shorter. We'll take the corners we were just working with and just bring them to the center like so. Once that's all done, you'll be left with a more round shaped piece to work with. And then again, we'll just fold that into a ball. You can scrunch it into a ball however you like. This is where we will use the twine to secure it. So I'll go once across it and just tie it like that. And then I'll go back down the other sides to make a crisscross and just secure it with a little bow at the bottom. Now that it's all set, you have this little knob at the top and a little bow. So we're just gonna add to this to make it extra fancy. This is when I like to incorporate some of the nature findings that we have. You can pop in a beautiful eucalyptus sprig right on the top. And then we can also make a nice gift tag out of some birch. So using this birch, there are quite a few layers you'll notice, so you can peel them back and get the most out of each piece. So with pieces like this, I'll just break them with my fingers to make them a little bit smaller. With the birch, it is very easy to work with, but also very strong. I'll go in with my hole puncher and 1 centimeter away from those edges to keep the integrity. I'll place a hole in it so I can tie it off to my gift. And it really just completes that natural style look. Twigs or sticks that you find, something just like this, if it fits right through the hole that you hole punched, then you can stick this onto your present and you're all set. If you'd like to make a locking tag using some birch and just some twigs, you'll just need a little one for the back. And then with the smaller one that I have here, I'm just gonna slide it onto the back end. And that's actually how you can lock this tag onto a gift. So I'll show you with the one that we have right here. So with this, I would just slide it into place on my gift. And now if you'd like to make sure that tag stays nice and locked, you can go in from the back side once it's secure on the gift and do the same thing you did at the front. And the closer you bring these pieces of birch together, the tighter it's gonna lock on your present, and those tags aren't going anywhere. All right, everyone, so the next gift that we'll be wrapping today is the newspaper fan style wrap. This one is done completely without any tape or stickers, just with newspaper and some twine. And another thing you can use for this instead of newspaper is some of that large brown packaging paper. The great thing about the packaging paper is you can always add a design to it by hand or just simply add your gift tag directly to it with a nice Sharpie or some markers or even some paint just to add a special touch. I will be showing this demonstration with the newspaper. So typically I like to have at least 2 sheets because newspaper is very thin and you don't want the corners to pop through. Once you have your 2 sheets set up, you will take your box and just make sure you have 2 times the width of the box or the length of the box, whichever way you decide to wrap it, to make sure there's enough space for the present. and for the fan that you're gonna create. Next up, you're just going to line up this box towards the end of your sheet with enough space for the majority of it to be covered with the paper that you will fold upward. To secure it, we're going to be using the twine. So start off by grabbing 2 times the length of the paper from corner to corner at least. It's always good to have a bit extra for a bow to finish it off at the end. And just trim that off, and once it's all set, you'll just slip the twine centered underneath the paper and underneath the center of the box. Fold it up this way to cover that box. And pull it nice and tight so that the paper doesn't shift as you continue on with the next steps. Using the string that you slipped underneath the box, we're going to tie this paper in place. Next step, we're going to take the paper here at the top and just fold it down flat against the box and give this edge a crease on both sides. And then we'll just repeat the same, fold the bottom edge of this paper up. What you'll be left with is 2 triangles on either side. That is what we will be hole punching to secure the bottom of the box. So with your hole puncher, about 1 centimeter away from any of the edges, place a hole in both of those triangles. With one of the lengths of twine that you have, you're just going to take that end through the outside of one of the triangles, and then we're going to connect it to the one on the other side. Gently pull the twine through, and that will secure the bottom of the box, just like so. And if you'd like to keep the twine centered on the front of your present, you can just put the end that you pulled through the triangles back underneath and use it to keep that other piece on the front right down the middle of the box. We will flip over the box and just take this twine and tie it off on the back side so it doesn't slip or move anymore now that we're done with the bottom. Next, we can move on to making the fan. So we'll stand up the paper on the top nice and tall and make sure it lines up evenly at the top, and just give it a bit of a crease on both sides. I usually like to do my fan about 2 to 3 centimeters in width, so I'll start by folding that first piece down and crease them really well to give the extra definition on your fan. And then we'll go backwards and repeat this process. Once you've reached the top of that gift, you'll notice you'll have 2 triangles on either side, just like that. And just give them a little bit of a creasing to define your fan. With the twine, we'll take the strand from the back of the box and the one from the front, and we'll tie down our fan with it. We can carve out pieces upper, so we'll just tie down these like this, and we'll double knot it right in the middle. Tie up. Next, you should be left with something that looks like this. So we will bring the fan together. There's 2 ways you can do this. Either sticking with your hole puncher and just putting the 2 holes in the pieces that come together here at the top. Just pop them in, and then you can take your twine and weave it through to secure it. But I will also show you simply with the stapler. We'll just bring these 2 pieces back together. And once they're nice and even, just go in with 2 staples to secure that. Once the staples are in, you'll instantly see the fan effect on your present. And with your extra lengths of twine, you can add a bow. It's simple but sweet. and effectively wraps the gift without a single piece of tape. Thank you for spending the time to watch today's video on how to achieve beautifully wrapped gifts in eco-friendly ways. We hope that you found this video useful and can share your tips and tricks with all your family and friends. From all of us here at eco+amour, we wish you a happy holidays. Thank you so much and have a wonderful rest of the year.